is someone that may speak to your stomach more than your ears. Someone who has told me that, you know, I'm honestly more comfortable in front of the stove than I am out in the field. Although he has no lack of out in the field experience. He has dug clams and caught fish as a living, as a commercial man. This is somebody who you cannot help but stumble across if you have ever been stuck with a package of meat in your hand and a phone and the Google in the other, going, what do I do with this? Okay? Hank Shaw is somebody you will know.
I got props for this one. Okay, I'm not inspirational. I never have been, I never will be. I'm from New Jersey, and if you've seen the TV show The Sopranos, that is exactly where I'm from. So that whole montage in the beginning with all, that's me, okay? So I'm not like a mountain guy. I was born on the ocean, almost literally. My mom's from Gloucester, so I come by fishing honestly, but tonight I'm not gonna talk about fishing. Tonight I'm gonna talk about cracking codes and figuring it out, often with many, many mistakes. And I'm also gonna tell you how I learned to love the marsh. Because of all the kinds of hunting that I do, and I pretty much, if you can eat it, I hunt it, duck hunting is probably the thing I'm the best at. So I have shot ducks in the US, Mexico, and Canada, and New Zealand. Yeah, I'm the guy who went to New Zealand just to hunt ducks. Like, literally everybody's like, oh, did you shoot a chamois or a tar or some other shit like that? I'm like, no, man. Like, first of all, you can't take the meat back, so why would I bother? Second of all, when I hunted ducks down there, I could feed everybody, right? So we'd shoot ducks in the morning, and then we'd get them all back, and it was fantastic, right? So I happen to live in California. So my home base is around Folsom, California, which is, if you are familiar with Johnny Cash, you know Folsom. But it's right near Sacramento. 7 million waterfowl. 7 million waterfowl live within 2 hours of my house, right? So I moved there 21 years ago, from Minnesota. So I, at the time, had a grand total of about a half a dozen squirrels, maybe six rabbits, and yeah, that's about it, right? So I had an over-under shotgun. I still have her. Her name is Tinkerbell. And Tinkerbell is an over-under Frankie Veloce. And not a duck gun. But I'm a cheap Scotsman, right? Like, if it's not broke, I'm not changing it. So I'm like, of course I can kill ducks with this thing. Because I got to California, and the rabbit hunting was terrible. There's like 8 squirrels in the whole area. Deer hunting's impossible. You have to have a dog for quail. So I'm like, and these geese are flying over the house every single day. So I'm like, all right, ducks, I'm doing ducks. So, okay, you need waders for ducks. Well, I have waders, right? So they're fishing waders, okay? I don't know if you've ever tried to hunt ducks in fishing waders, but it's like, which is fine, but they're also not insulated. So you need decoys. Well, decoys are expensive, and I'm not entirely sure I'm doing this stuff. Like, right? I just need to shoot some ducks first. So I bought like 6 decoys, all mallards. So if you live where I live, yeah, you can shoot mallards once in a while, but like a typical day, like now, sort of foreshadowing, now a typical day would be like sprig, gadwall, Weejian, green-winged teal, and then El Chovito if I have to. That's a spoon in case you don't know. But back in the day, I didn't know any of this. Like I knew duck, not duck. And that is the very first thing that anybody who hunts waterfowl needs to learn is duck, not duck. So I'm like, all right, I got it. So I've got my master book and I'm walking around. Well, I don't have any decoys, right? And guess what? I've only shot squirrels and rabbits. Turns out birds are faster. So I get to Gray Lodge. Now, little side note tangent, right? So if any of you guys have YouTube, and if any of you guys are duck hunters, and especially if any of you guys are California duck hunters, you need to look up, not now, wait until I'm done. Hitler is informed he has to hunt gray lodge. Write it down, you're welcome. So this is a gigantic public refuge. Now, here's the thing. If you ever want to win a bar bet, right? This is especially good in Louisiana or Arkansas. I've won hundreds of dollars doing this bet. Hey man, who shoots the most ducks every year? And they're like, Arkansas, Louisiana, or Texas, or Missouri. I'm like, every year it's California. Every year it's California. 7 million waterfowl spend their winter within 2 hours of my house. It's a huge thing. Like the high schools are named the Honkers and the Sprig and all that kind of stuff. Like it's religion in Northern California. So I needed to get some of that religion. Except wing shooting turns out to be hard. So I'm out there at the lodge. It's a 20,000 acre public refuge. California, in my opinion, has the greatest system of refuges in the United States for waterfowl. They're heavily managed and they're Byzantine. So you put in reservations, you put in for a resi. Resi is like the golden ticket, it's like Willy Wonka, right? So if you get one, you're in. Then you can do the lottery, and lotto requires you to come to the refuge the night before, put your name in a hat, and then they give you your number, and if your number's low enough, maybe you'll get them. Then there's the sweat line, which is like, hey man, I want to hunt ducks, and you're out of luck, probably. So there's this incredibly difficult system that is a barrier for newcomers. And at this point, I'm a big newcomer to hunting in general, and I'm an absolute amateur at ducks. So right in the beginning of the season starts the third week of October. So I get a resi from Gray Lodge. This is amazing, I got a resi. Well, it's not Little Dry Creek, which has and I'm not kidding this, a 1% chance of drawing a resi at Little Dry Creek. This is Gray Lodge, biggest refuge in the whole system. So everybody gets resis and like, fine, whatever, but I didn't know this yet. So I get there right around shoot time. Here's my resi. And the duck hunters will be laughing because they're like, oh, bro, yeah, sorry. You needed to be here 2.5 hours before shoot time to make use of that resi. You can't get on. So I got on eventually that day and didn't do anything. And I started to walk around and like see the marsh. And I'd never really seen the marsh before. You know, you drive past it. It's a swamp. Nobody likes swamps, especially in Jersey. That's where you bury people. Is that my outside voice? I'm sorry. It's just so, but you get to see the plants, you get to see, you know, I'm an edible wild plant guy, and there's all kinds of edible stuff there, and then there's ducks over there's not near me, and you get to actually see this as an ecosystem and appreciate it for what it is, and so few people, especially so few Americans, think that swamps or marshes or bends or bogs or whatever you want to call them are worth anything until you spend your time there. And so I'm trying to teach myself to shoot ducks because I don't know, how many people here have eaten a bull sprig, a pintail, or a canvasback, or a fat mallard, or a speckled-bellied goose? All of which are some of the finest proteins that are absolutely available in the United States, and they're unbelievably good, and I wanted more of them because I'm a chef, I'm a cook, it's what I do. The fat is amazing, and you just gotta shoot these bastards, right? And it's just like, they fly 50 miles an hour. So you start at the beginning. Here's the problem. So I'm walking around, and there are these blackbirds that are like on the water, and they kind of group up a lot. And it turns out they're legal game. So they're like right over there. And they're not going away finally. So I come up blasting, right? And I shoot 9 coots. 9 coots are tits up on the marsh. I'm like, whoa! Whoa! And it turns out coots are not really good plucked and roasted. But I could hit them, right? So I even hit one of them on the wing. So it was like okay, baby steps, right? And so I started to shoot coots. Started to only shoot coots in the wind. I still actually will do coot gumbo once a year, and our new law is like if you use 2 shells to shoot coots, 9 birds must die. Like you only shoot them when they're like in a battleship formation, right? Because I told you I'm a cheap Scotsman, right? So flash forward, I'm there every hunt day. So you hunt Wednesdays and weekends, and so every day I'm learning more. I finally get waders that don't squeak. I finally get waders that don't leak. I finally am not freezing to death. I'm finally consistently, I'm the coot guy, right? I go to the check station like, oh man, how many coots you get today? 20. And then one day, a crippled greenhead comes over me like, it's like a B-17 in 1944. And I'm like, ha-ha! And I shoot it and I drop it. Like, it's my first ever duck. My first ever actual duck was somebody else had clipped it, but sorry, man. So I'm like, I have a great head. And I kind of got a little bit better, and a little bit better, and a little bit better. And then finally, there was a day in the morning, I'm out, I'll never forget it. I'm out this is like January. I mean, the season's 3 months long. Imagine doing this day after day, putting your time in, learning the marsh, seeing what's out there, and failing and failing and failing and making mistakes and making more mistakes and making more mistakes. But they're different mistakes. And that's the most important thing you need to remember with it. Whatever it is that you do, go ahead, buck around and find out. But try not to make the same mistake twice. So I hear in the morning, cans. Canvasbacks are the fastest waterfowl in America. They are also the most delicious waterfowl in America. They are also by far the hardest waterfowl in America to hit, unless they land in your decoys. And then I'm absolutely skillet shooting those bastards. But these were not that because I had no decoys. But I saw them flying around, so I'm getting in the tules. Tules, by the way, is a California term for bulrushes, sorry. So I'm getting in the tules, and I hear them. And they're coming from behind my right. And I see them here, and drop 2. And I just stopped, and I watched them, and they're didn't have to chase them. Now, I don't know if you've ever shot divers, but divers are notoriously chasey. But these were stone dead, 2 bull cans. And I just stood there and looked at it